Hi, this video is for FD Signifier, and anybody else who's just coming to that point where they're looking at their health and going, stress is harming me physically. What do I do? What do I do now?
There is like this weird pressure when you are probably a content creator in general, but definitely in this particular space. And definitely if you're like oh, that's in my eye. I don't like that. Why is that happening? Hold up.
I'm Amelia Nagoski, and I am the co-author of a New York Times bestselling book called Burnout, which is a feminist book about stress. It's an intersectional feminist book about stress because really it looks at the ways that oppressive social systems impact individual well-being. Hi, FD. Can I call you FD? Mr. Signifier? Professor Signifier. I don't know. Hiya. How you doing? I'm a patron on your Patreon. Hi. Anyway, so your last video that I just watched concluded with you like going to the emergency room. And you said you're, 40 and you're looking at like the risks to your health very seriously, as you should. Where you are right now is where I was in my early 30s, and I have spent the past 15 years channeling my autistic hyperfocus into coming to understand the impact of oppressive social systems on individual well-being. Because, yes, I know you don't know who I am, and I look like the kind of wacky, overeducated, middle-class white lady who like owns a barn and stuff. But in addition to being, overeducated, middle-class, middle-aged, and white, I'm also clinically depressed, physically disabled, non-binary, and autistic. How are you? The point of letting you know that is that my journey through the world has not been frictionless. And that friction put me in the hospital twice. And I have learned information that saved me, that prevented me from burning out again, that has preserved my health. Before COVID, in my early 40s, I was in like peak physical health of my life because I learned this stuff. So, FD Signifier and anyone else who is noticing, holy cow, stress is harming my physical health. I know what you can do to decrease the physical damage that stress is doing to you, and I can at least like tell you the first steps to start you off on your own journey to making sure that stress does not kill you.
I think I should call an ambulance.
I think that there's something to say about this.
Step one is to notice. Congratulations, you already did that. But now that you've noticed that path of communication between your body and you has been, maybe that aperture has opened a little bit wider and you can hear more and understand more, and keep paying attention. Don't think that just because you're not in the hospital now, it wasn't actually a stroke or a heart attack or some other kind of, brain explosion. Just because it's not an emergency doesn't mean you are well. So keep listening and let your body show you what changes it needs in order to become well. And while you're at it, remember that you don't just deserve survival. You deserve to feel well and healthy. You deserve adequate health care that is not tainted by the size or shape or color of your body. You are probably not going to receive adequate health care that is untainted by the size or shape or color of your body, and I'm so sorry, but Merca, it's going to take extra work for you to find care providers who are at least aware of their bias. But in the meantime, regardless of what science knows or what medical care provider professionals know, your body knows, and you don't need to hand over your questions about your health to someone else. you can listen and trust what your body has to say. If your body is telling you, do not engage in this behavior or consume this content, it feels bad. Notice that. Stay with it and listen and try and see if your body's like, oh yeah, I feel better now that you've taken that poison away, even if it's, mental stimulation poison. The world does not know what's good for you. Your body knows, so trust it and listen to it. That's step 1. Step 2, complete the stress response cycle. It's chapter 1 in the book. What that means is, remember that in the environment of evolutionary adaptiveness, our stress response evolved in a context where its purpose was to save our life from things with, claws and fangs that could run 40 miles an hour. So that, fight or flight was the appropriate response because we could use that physiological shift. We could burn all that up and use it in order to solve our problem, in order to escape, teeth and claws and 40 miles an hour. Nowadays, we're not really chased by saber-toothed tigers. Instead, we have deadlines and YouTube drama and stuff that makes us afraid that, we're going to get canceled and lose our livelihood because of uninformed, petty, ignorant misunderstandings or crowds who want to feel the pleasure of taking someone down, and you get in their path, which is what your video is about. And I was like, yes. So fight or flight cannot solve that problem. You can't fight or flight your way out of the fear of cancel culture. So you need to deal with that problem with exactly what you bring, which is that calm, warm thoughtfulness. That is what you do to deal with that problem. But that doesn't mean that the stress response didn't happen, that your body's still trying to fight or flight itself away. You need to deal with the stress in your body, which means allowing the full stress response cycle to complete, as opposed to being calm and quiet and collected and allowing all that stress, which is a physiological reaction, right? It's hormones and other neurotransmitters and electrical signals that get built up in your body. They gotta go somewhere. So you need to do one of the many things to complete the stress response cycle. I've got other videos on that. It's chapter 1 of the book, but I'll just say physical activity. It's the most effective at a population level. It is not the best for me, and it might not be the best for you, and that is completely okay. Because other things that complete the stress response cycle are like a good night's sleep. Do you have access to a good night's sleep? You might not. You might still be too stressed out and afraid in order to allow yourself to sleep. Creative self-expression. So doing the videos, you'd think oh, this is creative self-expression. I'm making a thing in order to deal with a Nope. Because you are making the thing in order to address an audience so that the product itself serves a purpose, teaches a lesson, is clear for someone else. It is not the kind of creative self-expression that's going to help you purge the stress built up in your body. The kind of creative self-expression that helps you get all that discomfort and all that stressy blah out of you is the kind that you do just for the pleasure of making, not a product to be sold or a thing to be consumed or approved of or understood or responded to by somebody else, but rather something you just make to make it. It can be like cooking or carving or painting or singing a song. It could be making a video, but a video you only see yourself or with your family, and that never ends up online. Something that just expresses what you have without fear of judgment, especially because judgment could ruin your livelihood and endanger your physical safety. So be careful of creative self-expression. But also affection, spending time with your wife and your 2 kids, or for the actual other people who are more likely to watch this video, whoever cares about your well-being as much as you care about theirs, connecting with them and spending time with them, reminding your body that it's safe and home and protected and that you belong. That helps tell your body, oh, I'm safe. I don't have to run from this saber-toothed tiger anymore. There's also like, have a big old cry. It purges from your body. As long as you're not feeding the crying more thoughts about how terrible the situation is, if you're just focused on the physical experience of the crying, it's a cycle and it ends, just like the stress response. And, 7, 8 minutes, and you feel like, okay. And if 7, 8 minutes you're still like overwhelmed, reach out to somebody. And happily, Mr. Signifier, I know you got people. So you're going to be okay. You just need to allow yourself access to those resources. And if you're just doing those two, you are well on your way to feeling better very soon. And the initial steps of like learning to listen to your body and discovering the thing that makes you feel like you've escaped the saber-toothed tiger and you're safe, finding and discovering and starting those things is, you gotta push through the initial resistance that is built up in your body because you've been trained your whole life to trust in the medical system, to trust in what other people tell you about what your wellness is, about what it takes and what it actually feels like to be well and what you deserve, which as a Black man in America, you've been told your whole life that you don't deserve happiness and safety. And I am so sorry about that, but like, you're not alone. A lot of us are facing the same thing. So step 3 is along those lines, where it's thinking about the context that created the stress so severe that it's affecting your physical health. And that is recognizing that burnout happens in a context of unmeetable goals and unceasing demands. It is caused by a disconnect between what you are capable of, who you are, and who the world expects you to be, what the world demands of you. There is a divide.
I couldn't help, because this is how I'm wired, like laugh at how ironic it would be to die of like a stroke or heart attack while writing and filming a video about how stressful this job is, and like that video never making it out. But it turns out I did have a stroke. I didn't have a heart attack. It was a migraine, a panic attack. I don't know. Those are things I never worried about experiencing until this happened. Stress, I was used to, but anxiety, this is new. The reverse panopticon, the measuring of my humanity in words, that was new. A few months after that video, I woke up one morning with vertigo and no explanation. I could barely stand or walk for like a week, and it terrified me. And I've had numerous tests and MRIs and CAT scans and everything possible you can consider to make sure there's not something going wrong in here.
You will never be what the world expects. You will never conform to this expectation. This expectation is on purpose an unmeetable goal. The world will never tell you that you're good enough, that you're smart enough. The world will never do that. And that leaves you over here, and in between there's this chasm. We call it in the book the abyss. And once you're like on your way to kind of like recovering physical health, managing the abyss is going to be the thing that really launches you into feeling like this journey is going to be worth it. So for managing the abyss, there's a kind of a part of your brain that observes the abyss and decides who's to blame for this abyss. Is it the world for having expectations that are so fucked up? Or is it your fault for not working hard enough, for not conforming to what the world wants you to be? And, sometimes it's you. Sometimes people fail and we are inadequate and like we need to learn and do better. But more often, the world has expectations that are completely unreasonable. And a lot of times those expectations are put there on purpose in order to keep you in your place, which I know you know.
Now, I hate even attempting to explain the weirdness of this, circumstance, because it's first world problems, even though it's something that's been repeated by every major content creator out there. And we've seen many a very successful big creators stop making content for their mental health. This pressure, this depersonalization, it is something you don't understand till you've been through it, and it sucks. But this is self-inflicted. I made the decision that I wanted to make this a career. I made the decision that I wanted to actively resist being co-opted and not just go with the flow, and reshape the space to be more welcoming and friendly to certain voices. I made the decision to always position myself to try to help others. And for what? For bread tube?
That part of your brain that manages the abyss and decides who to blame, that's the part that in the book we call the madwoman in the attic, based on the Jane Eyre trope. And it's that critical inner voice that tells you you're not good enough. And a lot of kind of like mainstream advice about the critical voice in your head is to ignore it. Just ignore it. You don't need that negativity in your life. Tell that inner critical voice to shut it. I and Kristen Neff, who is the primary researcher in this field, so therefore I, declare that that's a terrible idea. Because that voice is trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you safe. Because if you conform, you'll be safe. If you can be in the middle of the herd, if you can meet everyone's expectations, then you'll be safe. That voice is trying to be like, get over to the expectations so that you can be safe. And if you can turn toward that voice and be like, hi, I hear you want me to conform to that thing in these specific ways that I feel critical of myself. I can hear that criticism and, hey, like, what are you afraid of? Like, tell me what you think will happen. You're going to end up dying alone on the street, Like, what do you think is going to happen if we don't conform? And listen with compassion to the most intense of the fears. You got to be ready for this, because it can be intense. But when you're ready, and then remember that you're a educated 40-year-old man with a wife and kids and like comfort and safety and love. And you are not going to be abandoned because you're not worthy. You are surrounded by people who care. You are yourself aware of your worthiness of love and care. And you know that you can keep yourself safe and that you don't need to conform in order to maintain your safety. And when you can open this kind of dialogue with that inner critic and create a less fraught relationship with the abyss and the unmeetable goals and the unceasing demands, that relationship will result in less fierce intensification of the manifestation of stress in your life. Because it's not going to be fed by that suffering anymore. Step 1, listen to your body. Step 2, complete the stress response cycle. Step 3, recognize that burnout is happening to you because of these unmeetable goals and unceasing demands, and they are unreasonable and unceasing, and no human being is capable of achieving those things because they are on purpose unachievable to keep you in your place, to keep you suffering, to keep you small. But those of us who appreciate the work that you're doing want you to be around to do it more, because you're part of the solution. And in order to stay part of the solution, you need to stay well. And in order to stay well, you need to believe what we all know, which is that you deserve love and care, and that the world is going to tell you that you don't deserve it, but you do. And this is my little part that I do to be part of the solution, because the cure for burnout is not self-care. The cure for burnout is all of us caring for each other.